So you've probably clicked on this video because you are excited or at least interested in the upcoming entry to the Assassin's Creed franchise, Assassin's Creed Mirage. My name is Caleb from the Should You Play It channel, and we got an amazing opportunity from Ubisoft to playtest Assassin's Creed Mirage a couple of weeks ago. Now the embargo is lifting, so I can give you some of my first impressions to the about 90 minutes of time that I got to spend with the game. A big thank you to the Ubisoft team who were incredibly friendly, helpful, supportive, and I had a great experience. So I've created another video that's a bit more organized and edited about all the things that you can do in Assassin's Creed Mirage. So if you're looking for a more curated, more organized video, that might be the place to look to know what to expect with Assassin's Creed Mirage. If you're interested in my opinion, for whatever reason, that's what this video is for, and it's going to be a little bit more free form, just talking about what it was like to play and what are my thoughts about the pros and cons of this game going forward. And as you're watching, bear in mind that the game is going to release October 5th across all platforms for about $50 US. The slightly lower price point is because the game is expected to take about 20 to 25 hours to complete the main quest at least. But there is a lot more to do, so let's jump into it. First, a little bit about me and Assassin's Creed. I have completed Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and played a little bit of Syndicate, Odyssey, and Origins. And I enjoy the series. I'm always excited to see what they're doing next. The most interesting thing for me is usually the settings. If it's in a location and a historical time frame that I'm interested in, then I'm interested to play the game. The main appeal to me is not necessarily to play a parkouring assassin again and again and again, but it's the attention to detail and historical sense of place in Ubisoft games that really pulls me in. So I was very excited when I found out that Ubisoft was planning a game in medieval Middle East, especially in Baghdad, and this, from the previews, this city looked incredible. It is a time frame and a part of the world that I don't know that much about historically, so I was really excited to jump into it and see if it would teach me a little bit more about the experience of people at that point in time and in that place, because there was a lot happening in history at this moment in the Middle East. And the good Ubisoft games really bring all of the different kind of historical threads from the surrounding time frame into their games, and even if it's a little bit fictionalized, I usually still feel like I'm learning something. Now, I was also intrigued and pleased by the rumors that this game was kind of going back to the more classic formula, because as much as I'm a huge fan of open world RPG games, for whatever reason, I have kind of bounced off of the more recent Assassin's Creed games. And I think it's not just me, that seems to be a kind of common experience, that this might not be the formula that Assassin's Creed was really designed for, and it just feels kind of forced into an open world with just endless quests, endless activities, when in fact the main appeal of the games, the main strength might be the stories that they've written in the more classic games, the characters, and the feeling of getting to live in a specific time period, which maybe just doesn't blend well with the idea of being able to go anywhere, do anything, and be whoever you want to be in these more open world games. The idea is to say, here's a character that you get to be in a very specific time and place. Now go and experience it. So I won't keep you in suspense anymore. My first impression of the game at the very opening screen is, oh my god, I'm in medieval Baghdad, in the center of this bustling, vibrant, multicultural, multilinguistic city where there's so much happening and so many people coming here and so many things going on, and intrigue and trade and riches. And Baghdad at the time in the 9th century was considered to be the center of the civilized world. All religions, all academic experts, students, linguists, everyone was coming to Baghdad to learn from the experts there, to learn from the philosophers, the religious teachers. And I felt that immediately through the vibe in the market, the style of the architecture, the beauty on the walls, the attention to detail. it was extraordinary. And this by itself makes me really excited to get the full game and just explore this place more, to walk around, to be part of this city. The, I'm sure, very interesting mission side quests and main story that make you feel a part of the most important historical trends of this city at the time. So I don't know how to express that point more without being really repetitive, but it was a really exciting feeling and everything seemed right. The clothing, the behavior of the people, the lighting, the art, the plants, the wildlife. I mean, I saw ostriches out in the desert, which was just really cool. I would bet there has to be some scene where you're on a war elephant or something like this. I don't know anything about it. No spoilers here, but I would bet there has to be a dramatic scene where you're on an elephant. And this just seems so cool. There are huge bazaars as well that remind me of some of my travels, and they just really nailed the vibe, and I'm so excited about that. The characters also seemed very well-rounded and pretty well-written, well-acted, well-voice acted as well, compared to, again, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origin, that I kind of bounced off the main character a little bit. They seemed a little bit stereotypical, and everyone seems to kind of be an archetype of a certain character in a video game. Now, I only got to play this for 90 minutes, and they did kind of drop us a bit farther in the game. It's not right from the beginning, which means starting from the beginning with the character, it might be even better if it's as well written as it seemed to be. But dropped in and just experiencing Basim and how he's interacting with people, the nuanced behavior and motivations of the people around him and the quests that I experienced really pulled me in, seemed really engaging and interesting, and I'm really thrilled to have that. I hopefully will have the opportunity soon to dive more into that world, to get to know those characters more. Even the side quests, like, I realized how much material there is in this part of the world at the time. One of the side quests that I spent the most time on during the game okay, let me backtrack here. The playtesters basically dropped me into the game and said, okay, there's this main quest for the main story. You're supposed to follow these clues, do these different kind of smaller quests and missions, and then assassinate this big guy at the end. And this will kind of demonstrate all the different things that the game can do. I immediately just bolted in the other direction because I'm like, okay, yep, that's cool, sounds good. I'll be happy to see it at some point, but I want to see everything else this game has to offer. I want to look around corners. I want to look under baskets. I want to get to the edge of the map. I want to see what the merchants are selling. And so I did all of that, and that's in my video that's a bit more organized, like everything that you can do in Assassin's Creed Mirage. And one of the side quests that I kind of fell into accidentally is helping the daughter of Alibaba Open Sesame's cave fame, helping her find her father and get into Alibaba's cave, which has to be full of treasure, right? So all these legends that they're incorporating into the game is so cool. And as soon as you have the opportunity to open Alibaba's cave, okay, yeah, political intrigue in Baghdad, the fate of the civilized world, sure. There's a cave full of treasure guarded by the 40 thieves, and we have to get into it. How cool is that? I mean, that's what video games are made for, right? So I cannot wait to get back. I didn't get very far into the mission because the playtest ended, unfortunately. I didn't get to open Alibaba's cave. Maybe there's a twist and it's completely empty and we realize the legend is just created to protect the cave for some other reason. Wouldn't be too surprising, because it would probably be too easy to get the character fabulously wealthy right from the beginning, but I want to open that cave. And that's the kind of thing that makes me excited about video games, is saying, okay, here's something you can do that you don't know how it's going to end up, but it's going to be exciting. You're going to have to be clever. You're going to have to go through all the steps. You're going to meet interesting characters, go interesting places, explore, find treasure. That's what it's all about. And that pulls me back somehow to especially Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the appeal of treasure, being a pirate, like those types of things. The that's what makes me excited about video games. And I think this game is going to have some of that shine that the series has, made very admirable attempts to widen the scope of Assassin's Creed games, but I feel like it has lost something of its special appeal recently. And this might, I don't know, this is not a review, but from an hour and a half of playing it, I think that this game might bring back the shine of classic Assassin's Creed. Now, that being said, I'm also really pleased at the same time to see that they have included a lot of the mechanics that made things much more enjoyable and much more fluid from the open world games, from the more recent games. So it feels very much like a modernized classic Assassin's Creed when it comes to the graphics, which are just incredible. The character models, the city I won't go back into all of that, but it feels so cool. But a lot of the mechanics from the newer games, like on a mount, follow the road. You have your hawk that you can send up to kind of scout things, which in this huge city, sometimes a lot of buildings you have to enter through the roof. So if you're wandering around in the streets, I got lost a few times and definitely had to use the hawk to figure out, okay, I know I'm like circling around the quest marker. How do I get into this place? And in those moments, the hawk is extremely useful also for tagging enemies, for feeling like you're really in control of the situation. There are other things like pickpocketing that you can kind of level up as a skill, which I didn't do hardly any of, so I can't really speak to it. Eavesdropping, spying, this gathering information. Oh, there's a whole system for putting together clues and solving cases to advance in the story, which from what I could see kind of seemed to be derived from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but a bit more simplified and more useful. So I didn't get deep into it. I don't know how interesting or useful that's going to be, but there is a whole system of clues that you pick up that are going to kind of guide you in which direction to go in the story and who to assassinate next, I suppose. A couple things that I'm a bit disappointed with from what I saw so far, just to make it clear that this isn't a full fanboy thing. Video isn't sponsored, it's just Ubisoft gave us a chance to play the video in advance. So I want to be completely honest. The parkour is Assassin's Creed parkour. I do wish they would be bold and kind of make the climbing a bit more skill-based, that you have to, press different buttons and that would be easier to fail and actually fall. To take fall damage very quickly, there's a skill you can get that everyone's going to get, of course, that basically eliminates fall damage for Basim. And while that's nice from a gaming perspective, it just gets kind of ridiculous, and the whole parkouring thing gets ridiculous also. So I do wish that they would advance this system and make it a little bit more involved. Also, the mounts, which are really cool. I mean, as I say in my other video, I'm really excited about being able to hijack camels. But with inside the city, and a huge part of the map is the city, and a lot of the game is going to take place in the city, it seemed like the mounts were a lot slower. They really seemed to be dragging, and there were times when it was actually hard to escape from guards on foot because within the city, this horse or the camel was really slow, and as soon as I would get out of the city, then it could gallop and go faster. Maybe I was doing something wrong, but I felt like I was being held back. Even the speed of Basim was not always quite as fast as I would have liked it to be. Okay, finally wrapping up here, unless something else occurs to me, the combat, which is, of course, a huge part of an Assassin's Creed game. Now, depending on where you're coming from, this will either seem pretty standard or quite revamped, renewed, because it is quite different than the most recent games. You're not a warrior. You cannot go in swords blazing. I don't know. You can't usually take multiple enemies head on. You really need to be stealthy, and this feels more like Assassin's Creed 2, even Assassin's Creed Black Flag to a certain extent, that, hey, you're an assassin. Your whole goal is to be unseen, to not go into face-to-face combat, but to be crafty and clever. And I do enjoy that. It requires more planning. It requires more thought. and using all of the tools that you have to achieve the mission in the best way possible. So you have smoke bombs, you have noisemakers, you have throwing knives, you have a number of skills that allow you, to kind of target or mark targets in advance before you jump in, to feel like an unseen, unstoppable assassin rather than these muscular warriors that we've seen, especially in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. For me, that's a positive step, especially because I've spent more time with the classic games, and I just feel like it fits with the vibe of Assassin's Creed more than these muscly warriors. Muscly? Okay. But if you have spent more time recently in the new, big, open-world Assassin's Creed games, it might be a surprise that the first time you try to go up against 3 or 4 guards at the same time, you're probably going to get your little butt handed to you. Now, that being said, if you have a lot of experience with the classic games, you probably won't find a lot new here. It's not a completely reworked system, and it's going to feel very familiar, for better or worse. Oh, I did think of one more thing to say. Performance. Well, that's really hard for me to give any evaluation of because I was actually streaming it from Ubisoft's system. I didn't have it downloaded on my system, but it did run extremely smoothly, and the fact that Ubisoft has actually moved the release date up, a week, 2 weeks? It was going to be middle of October, and now it's October 5th. And the fact that they're letting people play test it 6 weeks before the actual launch of the game, I think this is a really good sign that they know they have a polished game that's ready to be released, so I wouldn't expect a lot of bugs on release. But of course, with the state of gaming these days, I could always be wrong. And again, this is not a review, I just got to kind of explore and run around Assassin's Creed Mirage for about 90 minutes. It could still fall on its face. The writing could still fall apart. There could be lots of bugs. It could be much more superficial than it looks like. But none of that seems to be the case from what I could see. I did not see any signs that there's not enough to do, that there's going to be problems with performance, that there's going to be problems with the story. Everything looked good to me. So from what I can tell, I personally have every reason to be excited about this game, and I think if you are a fan of classic Assassin's Creed games, and this historical setting intrigues you at least a little bit, I think you have a lot of reasons to be excited about this game as well. Let me know down in the comments if you are looking forward to Assassin's Creed Mirage, and if there's anything else that you want to know about my experience, I'll do my best to answer it down in the comments, or if it's a really in-depth, interesting question that I feel like I can answer, maybe I'll make another video about it before the game releases. And make sure you subscribe to stay up to date about Assassin's Creed Mirage, other new releases, and especially free games all over the gaming universe.